how are things with you? I hope everything is going well. Are you winding down or getting ready for summer? I know I certainly am. I'm enjoying a little bit of a reprieve. So it is time to update on the Single Ladies and my man Matte Project Pan. I am stoked because I have a get ready with me using all the shadows I'm going to talk about that will be coming tomorrow or the next day. Things have been so busy. I know you know the deal. There's thunder going on in the background. Hopefully that is not going to be too distracting. So let's do this. The Single Ladies and my man Matte Project Pan. I have been super inspired to wear an Anastasia sultry vibe look for the past couple of weeks as I continue to work through my Lorac Pro 2 palette for Pan That Palette. I've really been going in for the shade Silver out of this palette and Cool Gray, and so this look has been crazy versatile for me on an everyday basis. I have needed a makeup routine that is extremely streamlined, very versatile if I want to change up my glasses for the day. I feel like there's a mixed metal vibe going on if I want to wear a very cool toned wardrobe or a warm toned wardrobe. I get kind of the mixed metal effect going on, and again, it really focuses around my eye color. So I really hope that you will look forward to and anticipate trying out that look with me, because it has been very, very versatile and something that I have loved wearing on a daily basis. Now, in terms of what's going on with my man Matt, the Anastasia Subculture palette, this past month has really been a roller coaster ride for me, because the first off, I have discovered that I do not like the Anastasia shadows if I've had to repress them. Let me just show you where I was. I'll show you where I was, and then we'll talk about where this palette is right now. All right, here's what we've got going on. I know it's a lot of change, but let's talk about the obvious change that has been the most impact, and that is how Dawn is pretty much empty. This is a shadow that I have used for months and months and months. I'm very impressed that even though the Anastasia shadows are quite powdery and can be a mess to work with, they actually last quite a while, because I know, like with Roxy over here, I've been working on this shade consistently since the beginning of the year, and you can still tell there's quite a lot of product in there. So I am impressed that even though you can hit pan fairly quickly, it does take the time to finish up the shadows. That being said, with Dawn, I got to the point where I'd hit so much pan that the middle was, I mean, just really, really empty, and my shadow crumbled and shattered, and so I repressed it. And the moment I repressed it, I could not stand the formula. It was a mess. It was just powder flyby everywhere, and I didn't have a terrible lot to finish once I repressed it, but literally I feel like anything that was left fell into what's left of Cube. I mean, just hot mess. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get that traditional duochrome goodness off of Cube anymore, because I feel like every time I gently tap my brush into what was left of Dawn, it was just like an explosion happened. It was horrible. So from now on, I'm going to get to the point where if I have another shadow crack, I'm going to just be super careful and always leave this palette flat and never like disturb it as I use the shadow, because I really was just unhappy with the formula after I went on and started using it again, because it was a mess, so a mess. The other thing, I'm kind of curious if you have the Subculture palette as well. The shelf life on the back of these Anastasia palettes are pretty short. I mean, like a year or less. The Subculture palette says it's good for about 6 months. I know the formula is different from what I understand. I don't own the Modern Renaissance palette or the Sultry or the Norvina, any of her other renditions that are more permanent. But I definitely am feeling the texture changes on these shadows, particularly with Untamed and Axis. I'm curious if you've had that with those blues and kind of teal shade as well. They are definitely super dry to the touch, and it kind of makes me afraid to use them, because that's what happened with my Kat Von D shadows before they literally started expiring on me in my new Eagle Remix palette last year. So I'm super hesitant, because that was kind of a huge lesson to me on the perils of possibly using shadow that's too old on my eyes, and I just don't want to walk down that road again. So let me know if you've had that texture change, kind of what to do about it. Is it a matter of me just scraping off the top layer and it's going to be creamy underneath? Because I mean, the rest of the shadows are okay, but I think that's because I've had substantial use and hit pan and most of the other shades in this palette. I've noticed that Adorn has become quite chunky, which is kind of alarming. I don't know if I'm going to get as much wear as I thought out of that shadow. And the rest of them, I mean, we'll kind of see. Edge is a little bit dry, but definitely Untamed and Axis are like super dry and chalky, and it kind of makes me a little bit of afraid. So let me know. So in any case, as we move on with this challenge, I was working on Cool Gray from my Lorac Pro 2, and when I finished that shade, I'll talk about that coming up and pan that palette, I went on and started moving into Mercury for the sultry vibe. I've got Mercury going on in my crease, and then in the very exterior corner I have on Charcoal from my Lorac Pro 2. I really have fallen in love with the shade. I like the versatility of having a cooler, warm brown gray. That sounds like an oxymoron. I like having the brownish gray, but having a little bit of depth and dimension. But it's one of those shadows that I've realized is not the most flattering on my skin tone. It can look very ashy. However, if I layer it on top of a warm brown, something like Dawn, it works really, really well. So just kind of a food for thought as you're coming up with looks. I love it paired with the silver. I have silver from Lorac Pro 2 going on my lid, or if you have a beautiful silver like in a Juvia's Place palette that you love, that would be super lovely. And it just works. It's kind of like taking that you know, just cool tone vibe, and I'm still mixing in the warm shadows, because what I've done in my crease, I really wanted to achieve the impact of bloom from the sultry palette, and I felt like Roxy on its own, I love warming up my crease with Roxy, but I felt like it was too orange, and so I brought in a pink shadow from the Too Faced Clover palette I'll talk about in that Get Ready With Me, and those two shadows together just give enough of that traditional coral effect that I really feel like I got what I wanted to if I own the shade Bloom, but at the same time, it's really helping me to shop my stash. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's been a look that I've really, really enjoyed and loved. And again, it's made me kind of take a new look at this palette and think, okay, here's another way to make it wearable on an everyday basis, but I am a little bit nervous about those two shadows in particular just becoming a dry mess for me to kind of have to deal with and have to make a decision on if I'm going to be able to work on those shadows or not. Then in terms of single ladies, I don't know if I remember coming out at the beginning of April to say like these are the single ladies that I'm going to work on, but these are the shadows that I've gravitated towards, and it feels really good right now because I'm kind of at that moment where my makeup in my current makeup bag feels very used and loved, and I almost don't want to switch it out because it feels so used. Like I was out of town a couple weeks ago and it was really nice. Like I had all my makeup, you know, out on the counter to get ready, and you know, it was just kind of obvious that everything was like well loved for anybody walking into that bathroom to see. Like I use all my eyeshadows and I use my blush. Like, you know, it's just one of the satisfying feelings, like sidebar. So in terms of what I've got going on for the rest of the subculture or sultry vibe, let's get that right, Amber. The first single lady that I've been working on for quite some time has been Coconut Cream from my Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar palette. I have gotten to the point where I've hit pan. That was super exciting because these Too Faced shadows are hard pressed. I use this on my eyes, on my brow bone specifically, and then I use it to highlight the high points of my face as just a really subtle matte highlight. This also works really well if you want to set your under eye concealer. It's a really nice light eyeshadow powder for that. Another shadow that I finally hit pan on, also from Too Faced, this comes out of the Peachy Matte palette, is the shade Chocolate Dipped. It's just a basic matte espresso brown. It works really well for me in my brows, and also it works just beautifully as an outer corner shade to really deepen up and give an intensity to an eye look. In fact, if you don't want to use something like charcoal to deepen up this look, I'll talk about it in that Get Ready With Me. An espresso brown is a very, very cohesive way to keep that sultry vibe going, but at the same time kind of steer the look to more neutral, maybe even a little bit warmer toned if that's more flattering for your skin tone. So great, great option. Then another shade that I've hit pan on, and it wasn't like I was kind of expecting to hit pan because the shadow has kind of started the flaking off process because it's old. This is the shade Licorice from my Too Faced Semi-Sweet palette, or Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar, and I hit pan because the layers on this side flaked off. So since that soft, beautiful shadow was exposed underneath, I've just been working on that section, and I've hit substantial pan, so I'm just going to keep working on it. That's why I asked that question with the Anastasia shadows, because sometimes if the top will get really dry, if you just scrape off that initial layer, you'll have that super smooth, creamy shadow underneath. And so I just don't want to go in and like destroy the shadows and then realize that it's been ruined all the way through, you know what I mean? So that was super fun to hit pan in a matte black. I'm going to keep working on it and see how far I can get with it. And then this shade has been the one that has surprised me. I pulled out a very, glitter bomb shade from the Too Faced White Peach palette. I received it as a gift for Christmas. And it's one of those palettes that really is a hit and miss for people, I've noticed in declutter videos. Some people love it, but there are a lot of people that hate it because it's kind of one of those palettes that it's hard to please. And Peach Ice is one of those shades that when I first looked at it, I was like, I don't know. It is a glitter bomb white shadow. Chunky. It's, dare I say, it's kind of a dud. However, when I put it on top of the NYX Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencil in Milk, I really, really like it. Here is a swatch of Peach Ice. And my favorite way to wear the shadow is in my inner corner over that NYX Milk. It actually works well paired together. It gives me just enough ethereal lightness and brightness to my eyes that it really opens up my eye look, especially since I'm wearing the cool tones on the exteriors of my eyes. It makes the brown in my eyes really brown. And then that NYX Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencil in Milk kind of tones down the chunky glitteriness of this. And one of the tips I wanted to share with you, the best way I found to apply this is, again, we're going to talk sponge tip applicators, but really they need to come back in vogue because that is such an underrated beauty product that actually works quite well. So I'm doing a easy lid with the silver. I take one side of the sponge tip applicator and swipe it over my lid, and then I reverse that sponge tip applicator and go in with the white and apply it into my inner corners and fan it up. And it's just a beautiful effect without having glitter fall out kind of all over the place. I found that, using a brush, it just doesn't quite work as well. But that is one way that I found that makes that shadow super versatile, and I actually enjoy using it out of that palette. So it makes me a little bit more enthusiastic to try some of the other shades out of that White Peach palette. So just kind of food for thought. If you own it as well and you've kind of been looking at it like, do I want to keep it? Is it good? Is it not good? Or I've tried it and I didn't like it. 9 times out of 10, I talk about this with Pan That palette all the time, but it's usually the shades that I turn my nose up at that will end up being my favorites or that I'll appreciate because they really kind of push me to work outside of my comfort zone and figure things out. And that, again, is another one of those shades that I typically don't like really stark whites like that because they're so like glaring, but at the same time, it works with a look like this. So just kind of fun fact. And then the last shadow that I've been working on, which kind of surprised me, I wanted to step back into the MAC Mariah Carey quad and I'm That Chick You Like, one of those limited edition quads, because I've already finished off the Espresso Brown, and why not? Let's try to go finish a couple other shades. And so I went into this shimmery brown or shimmery bronze down here. Again, it's kind of like that matte, not matte, the shimmery white from Too Faced. This is just a chunky glitter bomb. It is a hot mess. In fact, as I started putting my eyeliner brush into it, the shadow kind of exploded on me. That's how I hit pan. It's still exciting, but that's how I hit pan, because the shadow kind of exploded. But this is another one that's just like, it's kind of a dud on its own. The color is really pretty of it, but in practice of using this formula, it's just not the best. You can see how chunky that is and how it's not applying very evenly. However, I really have found that it works quite well for me layered on my lower lash line with the Lancome Le Stilo, or it's the Ombre Hypno Stilo eyeshadow crayon in the shade Bronze. It's number 27 Bronze. These two work super well together. So what I do is I take that Lancome bronze eyeliner, and it has a fine enough point that I can use this on my lower lash line without it getting too crazy and out of control. And then I take a an e.l.f. eyeliner brush and then layer that bronze shadow on top. And again, it gives that tacky enough base where the chunkiness is kept to a minimum. I don't have to worry about a lot of glitter fallout going into my eyes, creating irritation. And it gives me an opportunity to use that shadow. So just real easy. In fact, that being said, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to stick with these shadows just a few more weeks to see if I can finish some things. So let's kind of put some goals out there. Actually, I do have one new single lady or two new single ladies, because let's just kind of put that out there. Okay. In terms of what I'd like to hit pan on, because I'm thinking I'm going to stick with the silver look just a smidge longer through May, because it's been really wearable for me, very versatile, and I've still got a lot of kind of craziness coming up for the rest of May. And so I'm not going to lie, it's kind of nice to have a streamlined makeup routine that I really don't have to think about. I'm going out of town a bunch, and so I don't want to have to really worry that my makeup's going to turn out or not. So I'm going to work on this. I don't remember what shadow this is. It's from a Lorac palette, because I can pan Lorac shadows quite consistently. It's just another warm brown, kind of similar to light brown from the Pro 2 and Dawn. It's kind of a good mix between the middle. And then I'd also, let's just put out there, I want to hit pan in this pink that I've been using from the Too Faced Clover palette, the Love is Love. This is the shadow that I mix in with the Roxy shade to get that bloom kind of effect going on in my crease. Excuse me. So let's go on and put it out there. I want to hit pan in both of those, and I'd like to hit pan in Peach Ice, the shimmery white. Let's just put it out there. That way we have some substantial progress going on with some single ladies. So we got 3 single ladies, and then let's go back into the Man Matte. I've hit pan in Mercury. Let's say I want to get it to the point of being like fudge down here. I want to start clearing out the middle. We'll see what I can do in the next couple of weeks, because the shadow is quite powdery. You don't have to really be too forceful with your brush before there's a lot of product that kind of spreads all over the place. But let's see what I can do. Since I wear it in my crease, it is helping me to kind of get through that shadow at a fairly consistent pace. So I think that'll be good. And then I can go on and do the update for my Lorac Pro 2 coming out for Pan That Palette. And that's going to keep giving me the consistent pace I want. I'm really in a mood to like finish some shadow lately. Are you? Like, I'm just feeling not uninspired when I see new makeup videos, but I'm just kind of in that moment where I'm like enjoying what I have, and I'm just not excited to see anything new. Does that make sense? So that is where I am. So in any case, that Get Ready With Me is coming for this look and this lip look. Again, this has been very versatile. If you don't like a dark lip like I'm wearing today, I've worn it with like a coral balm, I've worn it with glosses, I've worn it with nude lips, and so I hope that you will look forward to that and try it out and shop your stash and have a lot of fun doing it. So until then, let's hope that this storm doesn't take over my house. My dog's already freaking out at my feet, so I need to get going and get some errands done. So thank you so much for giving me some of your time. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I really look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in a bit. Bye.